And we're live.
No bikinis on bottoms.
Or bottoms
That's
on bikinis.
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I mean but that's why it's not possible. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because like you can't put a bottom on a bikini. Yeah, but I mean technically you can put a bikini on a bottom unless it's not allowed, unless somebody banned it. But
but that's the thing, because SpongeBob, it's Bikini Bottom, right? The town,
yeah,
and then they made a rap song called "No Bikinis on Bottoms," like naked butts.
is what's that? Where are they uploading that? We should give them a not that like no one watches this show anyways, but just in case. I mean, we can shout them out.
Well,
Where's this located?
Sad Sponge is the artist. Patrick Stardog, um, your boy Sponge is the. You could find it that way.
Nice, nice. That's good.
Your boy Sponge. There's also a guy named Glorb that does a lot of them too.
Oh, I thought this was Max and Christoph that did this.
No. This was just some guys on. I'm assuming it's guys, but people on Spotify.
Oh well, now we just gave a free shout out. They got to pay for that. This is only like we only give free shout outs to friends and family. Like
Yeah,
these
but
sponge
pretty much
guys, they need to be paying up. It's expensive to make.
anybody that's watched SpongeBob is kind of in my family.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. Fellow SpongeBob watchers. All right, they get it for free this time.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they have a SpongeBob watch, I'm inclined to give them a free shout out.
That's valid. It's it's valid.
That is valid. So you heard that they're gonna stop giving people the SAT.
No, I remember them changing it a lot. Like when I was like in high school, I remember they'd constantly. Well, I mean, all the way back, even before, but they were always changing it. Like they'd change little things about it. But no, I didn't know they're stopping it completely. I know it was kind of controversial for a while.
Yeah, I'm just starting rumors, but I think people are talking about how it might not be fair across the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of people too. Like it's kind of crazy who just they just cheat on the SATs.
Oh, how do you know?
Well, I didn't personally. I wish like I mean it would have been great. I mean you just get an even better score than you could have, but um I do know people at my school who did cheat. At least they said so. Again, you can never like they could be lying too and just trying to be cool, but yeah, I don't know.
Now, why is that people would lie to be cool?
I don't know.
And why would that even be cool that you cheated?
I don't know. High school's a weird time. I guess that's my only reasoning. My only assumption is that the only reason why somebody would say they cheated if they didn't is for social credit. Only reason I can
Uh,
think of, but
Social credit. Yeah, I guess.
or
I
maybe they
got
did really bad and they just wanted to be like, "No, bro, I know I do bad all the time, but this time it's different, bro.
mm,
I cheated."
yeah,
So, okay.
this will be better. Yeah, dude, but guess what? I only missed I in the math section. I took it back when there was three sections. Now there's two sections. Um, but in the math section, I missed only. I think there's like at minimum 50 questions, but perhaps more. I only missed three questions,
Mm,
and
damn.
that means I got a 740 out of 800. And um, they tell you there's easy, medium, and hard. And I missed two easy questions and one medium question, which is kind of crazy.
That is insane. Yeah. And no cheating?
No cheating, dude.
Nice.
I just had an autistic teacher in my math class, and it was a college prep school, so and like they actually offered like college classes at the school. Um, so I took UW math, and because it was actually counted as college credit, my high school was on semesters, but the college was on quarters. So once we finished the quarter of the math, then the remainder of that semester we got to study for the SAT for the math section. So we got a lot of practice problems and training us to think to pass the SAT. And yeah, that was life changing to get such a good score so that I could get into the University of Washington.
Yeah. I, I like that. I like that in the story there was like the teacher was autistic as part of the like the foundation of like he, I'm just imagining
Yeah, no,
the
she was
constant
autistic.
calculations.
Yeah, she had a seating chart. She taught she um treated like 16 and 17-year-olds like they were in fifth grade. And she actually um my younger brother had her, and he had a 4.0, and like um that's getting an A in every single class that you take throughout all of high school. In his junior year, he had this woman, and she gave him a really, really hard test that was not um, basically like you do a bunch of practice problems leading up to the test, right? And you kind of have an idea. These are the set of problems that we're gonna kind of have to solve. But she put something way off, like just totally out of the blue. And so I think he might have got an A- or a B+ on that test, and nobody got an A on that test. And so it fucked up his perfect score, and the perfect score was so important because a lot of scholarships like go out to people who have a perfect 4.0, right? So he doesn't like her because of that. But he actually, while he was still in high school, he he enrolled in an online college course and went through all that, and then the school allowed him to replace the grade from the college grade for his high school grade with this autistic teacher, and so he did get a 4.0.
Nice.
And he
Damn.
had to go to he had to go to college classes during his high school so that he could keep it the 4.0. And he ended up being the valedictorian, one of five. And but also my older brother had the same teacher, and he didn't like her at all. Um, I don't know exactly why, but I liked her because she gave me only two easy and one medium missed on my SAT. So it's hard to
Yeah.
hate.
I don't even remember my score on the SAT. I don't remember exactly how I did. I hated math though, so definitely wasn't a perfect score.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I have my younger brother. He did that, um, and then like a lot of people at my age were taking the ACT also, which has a science section on it, and they were scientifically focused. Um, and it was out of 36. I don't know what it is now, but they were getting very, very high scores, like 34 and 35. And now they're just these people just got um placement. So they graduated from medical school and now they got their what is it called? Now they're doing their rounds. So you have oh, it's a residency. So they just got their residency placements in the last couple months.
Damn.
You know what that is?
Yeah, yeah, you're working at the it's basically like an internship. They're working at the hospital.
But they're considered doctors, but they have to go and be supervised for 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the doctors.
The doctors. That's 6 years of school too. That would suck. I mean, I
Wow.
guess if you like it. To be fair, I guess it depends. For me, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in medical school at least. I've thought about law school possibly after graduating, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think medical school would be my cup of tea.
my cup of tea.
3 cups of tea.
Well, it's really a lot of school actually, if you think about it, because you have hopefully you went to kindergarten, right?
I hope.
Kindergarten up through 12th grade, right? Then you have 4 years of college, so you're up to 13, 14, 15, 16th grade, right? So that's 16 years. No, that's 17 years. And then you have the medical school, which is 4 years, which is up to 21 years. And then you have the 4 years of the residency. So now you're 24 years into school or 21. So it's pretty elaborate plan to become a medical doctor.
Yeah, a lot of time. Which I mean, you wouldn't want it to be quick, or else you'd have a bunch of people. Can you imagine? Someone's like, "I just spent 2 years. It's fine." Yeah, we'll do this heart transplant, no problem. It's gonna be fine. No worries.
Yeah, what kind of psycho do you have to be to do heart transplants?
That's what I've wondered. See, the crazy thing to me is like somebody then is like they're so like trusting in their ability to like cut somebody open and extract like a human organ. Like imagine you go into work one day and you're like, "Oh, I'm feeling a little bit fucked up today."
Yeah,
No, you can't. You can't be like that.
it's scheduled. There's a scheduled surgery today.
Yeah, can you I can't even imagine like if I probably would be like this. "Doctor, are you okay?" "Sorry. Sorry. Doctor, you're shaking. You're sweating. You're getting sweat into the wound. I'm sorry. I gotta go to the bathroom."
What are you gonna do in there?
It's just start like throwing up. You'd probably just be so anxious. You'd be like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember what you learned. Remember what you learned. You cut it open. It's this deep. Not too much pressure. It's gonna be fine.
yeah. Especially like, yeah, you have to be consistent, but you you work your way up because like when you're in residency for 4 years, you're watching other people do these surgeries, right? You've studied them. That's your only job, right? You don't have to. You probably have an accountant to do your taxes. Hopefully, like you're only focused on this one thing. Um,
You would
you have
hope.
to make some life. You have to make some lifestyle choices. You're probably not going out getting hammered the night before surgeries. Um, but yeah, you got to be a little bit of a psycho, I think. But we need those positive psychos.
Definitely, yeah. Or else who's gonna do the heart transplant or the brain surgery? Somebody's got to be the one to do it. And I guess not all doctors too go into the field of like becoming a surgeon. Some just do checkups or lab work. There's plenty of of different people in the field, but to do a complex surgery like that, yeah, you'd have to be a certain way.
Yeah. I wonder how many of them are using performance enhancing drugs.
You know, funny enough, I was thinking the exact same thing. Going back to like the bathroom scene, like the guy goes into the bathroom. I just need to steady myself. I just need to steady myself. Okay, okay. All right. Hands relaxed. Hands relaxed. Not too much. Perfect dose. Where's the Adderall?
Yeah.
Pills come out. He's like searching for it. Where is it? It's like, doctor, what do you mean? I need it.
I'm sure a lot of them are on Adderall, honestly. Um, but the thing is, they come up with new surgeries all the time. So uh, sometimes you are doing a surgery that's never been done before.
Yeah. You'd have to be really experienced to be able to go forward with that. Cause imagine I if you mess up, that would like stain your record forever.
Yeah, but that's but they're specialists. So somebody into orthopedics, like AKA like joints, um, there's doctors that all they do is just knees, right? So they know a lot about knees, but they don't know a lot about shoulders or elbows, you know?
Yeah.
So you just you get your thing, you trust that you understand the knee inside and out.
Sometimes those come from like dire situations where there's no other like option. I remember this was when I was at Bellevue College, there was a class and I actually accidentally took it. Like no one in the class knew that this wasn't a normal class, but this was for an English credit. And this was it was like the basic like GUR that you had to take, but there's like specialized ones. So if someone's going into like I can't remember what minor that would be or what pre credit that would be, but there was a medical related English class. So it was like medical papers and writing. This one was about like experimental procedures, like medical procedures.
Mm.
And I remember that was actually interesting. Like I would have never taken it myself because again, I was never interested in medicine, uh, especially not at that time. But I thought it was really interesting, actually. The book too, like it might have been because it was a good professor, but I wish I remember the name of the book that we read. But yeah, this guy just wrote about the history of like experimental medical procedures. There was like a case where there was a guy. They did a good job too because they told it like a story. There was a guy who was like in Antarctica. He was a researcher there, and somehow he got exposed to the elements. He got like lost, and he was like experiencing like severe hypothermia. And I think somehow they got this guy and rescued him. And it talks about like they didn't know what to do at the time, so they were going through these like experimental phases to save this guy's life. And um, at that point, you just have to like take the knowledge that you do know and then try your best to save the person.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, in a remote circumstance like that,
Yeah. I wish I still had the book too. This was like years ago, and if I could, I would reread it. But I think I rented
really.
it. Maybe it's still on my shelf, but
Oh, you've read books before, dude? Damn.
sometimes I have to admit, sometimes if I'm not interested in the subject, I do a little bit of skimming. I'm a guilty book skimmer if I have to, especially if like time is of the essence and I've got to go. I'm quick reading.
Yeah. Well, um, One time I was perhaps allegedly cheating on my Spanish test, and allegedly, so we would have these weekly quizzes when we're learning new vocab words, and you would pull out a sheet of paper. It wasn't like a quiz they handed out, and you'd have to like she'd write it on the board, and you'd have to write the translation. And sometimes, allegedly, some people would have a piece of paper underneath their test paper that they filled out that had the answers on it. Um, and one time, actually, this guy Billy, he actually had his phone in between his legs during a test, and his phone was on with the answers, right? And he got caught with the answer. He got caught with the phone in between his legs, but he said he was just texting his dad, and they believed him.
No, they actually believed him?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane. Oh, I can't believe I've never actually been in a class where someone has gotten caught cheating. I know people who have gotten away with it. I've cheated I actually don't think I can I
Allegedly,
didn't.
dude. You have to say
Oh,
allegedly
allegedly,
because
not all the time. Allegedly. I didn't cheat very often, but I never was caught doing it. But it was only subjects where I really hated the subject and I struggled, like chemistry. But here's the thing: so a lot of people allegedly cheated in that class, right? But this one guy, he had an Apple Watch. Now, this guy was lucky because the professor, or well, I guess teacher back then, it was high school, but this teacher did not know. Um, this teacher did not know what an Apple Watch was. I don't think. I just don't think they had like the awareness of it. But this guy, every single test, he would cheat with his Apple Watch, and he got away with it every single time. And he was like kind of like a class clown type, and I think the teacher was suspicious because like he kind of had like a he played the dumb guy persona, right? And I think the teacher started to wonder, how is this guy doing so well? Because he was doing like really well. Like there were like people in the class who were like, was like he like would love them because he'd be like, oh, you're so good, like, and you know all the questions even when I ask you them. You don't goof around and everything. And then there was this guy who would even beat them in scores sometimes, would beat some of their scores. And I think the teacher was like, what the hell is going on? And no one else in the class could get away with that because no one could cheat every single, like, allegedly cheat every single class. Not even me. Like, I'm not taking that risk, you know? If there's like a opportunity, I will allegedly, weigh the risk options, right? But this guy, every single time, every single test, even on the final test, this guy was able to cheat with his Apple Watch. And it was crazy.
yeah. How did you know?
He mentioned it. He
Oh,
like, as even if it wasn't like very smart, like word got around the class, but no one snitched on him.
yeah.
Stitches get stitches. You don't, especially if like
Wow.
everyone else is kind of is doing the same thing. Like it's almost like it'd be hypocritical if like everyone
Yeah.
there's like an agreement in the class at that point. There's like kind of this bond where it's like this class sucks, the teacher sucks. We gotta survive this. Band
Yeah.
together.
Well, so in my experience, when I had my piece of paper underneath my quiz, I had done this before and other people had done it. You just um you might pick up your sheet of paper a little bit so you could see through to the bottom sheet, or you just kind of have to look down, and then when she would be looking away, you would put the sheet. Sometimes there would be a place in your desk where you could put it. The desk that has like the little slot underneath. Sometimes you just put it by your backpack. But she was looking at me like she had seen me squinting, the teacher. And so I kind of had to pass it forward, and then the the cheat sheet like kind of floated down to the ground. And then she was like, "Oh, I got you." Um, but everybody, as I said, Billy was allegedly texting his dad during that test, which is pretty good answer, honestly. But so then I had to go down to the dean of students office, Mr. Rod, and he there was a no cheating policy at my school. I don't know what they were supposed to do. I think you're supposed to get a suspension or something pretty serious.
Hmm.
But they didn't even call my parents, dude. They just let me off with a warning.
Really? That's
Yeah.
insane.
So
See,
I don't know why though. I've been thinking about this.
I don't know cuz that's supposed to be really severe. Like I the reason why I like in throughout my college experience, I haven't tried cheating at all. The reason why is because it's such a severe punishment. You get an F completely, and I think like you can even be like they'll just like kick you out of the school, right? So
Yeah,
the
they can kick
punish
you out of the school.
yeah, the punishment is so severe that I wouldn't dare try. During high school though, I remember the stakes weren't quite as high, but I think at my school you did still get an F. They're not going to kick you out. You still have to like go to school, but I think they would. I think if I remember correctly, they would give you an F on it, and that was it. Which is why I also, again, I wouldn't dare try a few more times. If I was already in a rough spot in the class, to me it was like 0-0 stakes, right? But if I'm like doing well enough in the class where I'm like, I don't want to even attempt this, no way. It was like a cost risk analysis that I would do based off of my positioning, you know.
Yeah. Well, they didn't film in the class, they didn't do anything. But then this is so maybe they should have done something because I allegedly then started, at least in my writing classes in college, doing some plagiarism.
Oh.
At the very least, what happened was I just read the Spark Notes, right? And then he had all the way back in 2015, he had some AI thing. So um, this was like the most boring English class I've ever been in. The professor didn't speak English very well, and dude, sometimes they're just bad. You're just bad at teaching. But one day I get this email from him. He's like, "Hey, like, can you meet me outside in this building on this bench? I need to talk to you." And he was like, "Yeah." I sat down and he was like, "Yeah, dude. So, you know, I know you're plagiarizing on your um thing, right? And that's grounds for being kicked out of the university." And he was like, "I'm gonna give you a C, and if this ever happens again, you're gonna be kicked out of the school."
Damn.
But dude, that's not even that bad. I didn't even get a zero on the paper,
Yeah. That's
right?
that's crazy like that. I mean, I guess it's up to the professor's own generosity though, too. I mean, if they truly in the kindness of their heart are like, "All right, I don't want to like, I don't want to fuck up this person's whole life," right?
Yeah.
Especially since it was the first time. I don't know what ability they have to like talk between professors and kind of assess like if a student has done something before. I'm sure that guy probably contacted other people that you've had classes with, and when he found out you only did it that one time, I'm sure that
I
gave him like more.
I doubt it. I doubt he talked to people.
Maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, that I mean, that's nice of him though. That's a I don't think if I was a professor, to be honest, I mean, I know this is probably like maybe like a something where like I don't know if if I ever like somehow became a professor that'd be like, we're not hiring you, but I feel like there's a humanity in that, like you don't want to like screw up a whole entire kid's life, and still you're giving them a C. It's like a it's not like a real bad grade. It's enough where it's like a punishment, but not like ruin somebody's life punishment.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the rules, man. And so that's the thing is like you have these rules for you, it deterred you from cheating in certain allegedly in certain circumstances. Um, but dude, these rules, I mean, I just don't get it because also when I was in my frat, they were like, bro, you have to get above there was a certain GPA you had to get to like stay as being a member in the frat, right? And because of this grade, I fell below that threshold. And like because I wasn't like everybody else was basically a business major, or communications. So like all of them had like the guys, they had like teammates for their major. So they had like mentors and um, people keeping them on track, but I didn't have that. But then I'm wondering like they just didn't say anything, dude. So they have these rules, and then all of a sudden, they have this problem, and nobody even comes to talk to me. And so then I just keep getting grades below that level, and nothing ever happened.
You mean like there's like being there like a lack of like a punishment. But then again, I feel like
They have academic standards, and then I don't meet the standards, and then nothing happens.
yeah, I see. I don't know because yeah, it's important that there's like ramifications to things. Like the plagiarism thing is like a serious thing, but then your grade falling below a certain amount, and then I guess is the idea that because you're in a frat, they assume that you're partying too much and kind of it's lowering your grade score. So if you get out of that, is their idea that then your grade will improve? Because I feel like there has to be like if you're gonna implement a punishment, it has to be based off the assumption that it's going to benefit the other person in the long run.
No, no, it's about benefiting the group.
Mm.
So if you can't succeed in the academic sphere, then you're not going to be able to become a prominent member of the society, and therefore you can't cause an overall benefit to this group of people that you've decided to associate with.
Yeah, I think that's a bullshit rule. I don't like it.
Yeah, dude, it works. It just works, and it's like people just not eating pigs because then you are different, you know?
I don't know. I like it's very. What if somebody though? Imagine this. I'm gonna go on throw in a little hypothetical. Imagine this dude who is so like one day he's just the greatest. He does everything right, and they end up. No, I'm not gonna make a joke. Anyways, but they, that's just say that there was somebody who like they didn't fit into the conventions of like uh they didn't fit into the conventions of like traditional school, right? They got shit grades, right? And this person goes and like I don't know does something great afterwards, or maybe they're like a massive they can contribute in a certain way to I don't know like a business or whatever it happens to be, some organization, some group could really benefit from this person specifically and their skill sets, but they just
Okay.
don't operate in the traditional environment of a university. This group now is making the assumption that because that person's GPA has fallen below a certain level, that person must not be on par with the rest of the group that has now been assumed to be a part of this magnificent group of people theoretically, just because. And maybe some of them don't even have street smarts, like maybe they all jump into the ocean and get eaten by sharks. They're a bunch of idiots, right? But they're like, but I know, but I'm really good at this test. And then they jump in the ocean and then the sharks eat them, and the other guy's like, well, if you had me on the team, I could have told you where the sharks are at. Some people have like
Yeah,
different abilities, different skill
right,
sets, you know?
right, right. Well, this organization has been around for I think at least 100 years, and actually, all the people, different frats have different rules, but the people that were in this frat actually, the Nordstrom family went through that fraternity, and you know Nordstrom, like the store.
I've seen
Um,
their house.
you've seen the Nordstrom's house.
Yeah, I've seen your house.
So here's the thing. So there's a certain amount of like over 100 years, you're gonna try different rules, and then you're gonna have like the sort of success. And the whole idea is like people want to have some sort of security, and they want success, and they can have success through this. What would you call it? You would call it this tenet, perhaps called mutual assistance. And that tenet is actually very useful in the team environment, and it's basically like together we can get further. Um, so
So
that's
what,
great.
you just cut off the loose end then? Like, is it the idea of like cutting off the weak link? But
Well, you
because the
can't be
weak
friends with
link is like,
you can't be friends with everybody, dude.
I don't
You
know.
have to have some sort of filtering process. I'm not saying that this is good. I'm just saying this is what the mindset is. So, actually, this is going to get worse for you. Here's the thing. So throughout this process, they started this thing where they had, so there's about 100 people total in the frat, right? Maybe like 25 to 30 each year, freshman through senior. Each year, the group of 30, they would well, okay, first, so they have this process called rushing. Basically, like some of the coolest guys from the older years, they get together, and like then the younger guys, like the people seniors in high school will come hang out with that group of guys, and like they test them out. And for me, when I was rushing, they took me out on a boat, and like we went wakeboarding and stuff. Um and they brought beautiful, I guess you could call them women, I don't know. Um they're young people, but they're like 20-year-olds, right? So hot girls, wakeboarding. If you don't like crumble under the pressure, you might get a bid. So you don't get to just join the frat if you want to. They have to extend an offer to you, and then you have to sign it, right? So so in this process, they for my frat, it was all white people, except every year they would sign one Asian dude.
it's crazy. It's
So
almost
I mean,
funny that.
without fail, there would be one Asian dude. So um that's, I don't know where that came from, but that's there.
I just imagine some like
And
bro who's like, "Oh, bro, don't forget about the Asian guy, bro. You got to have the one token Asian guy in the group." Like, they're always like, it feels like it's like a what is one of those like comedy movies? Like, it feels like one of those like, it feels like a frat comedy movie where there's always like the one Asian guy that's in the film, and then you always gotta have
yeah,
the
yeah,
one black dude who's in the film, and like it's like, but just one, not two, like just one.
yeah. No black guys in this frat. Um, it was one Middle Eastern dude. Um, okay, there was an Asian dude every single year, which is just crazy. But it's this whole thing about social engineering, right? And it's like they want to have some sort of threshold for you to pass through, so that when you join this network, basically what like a fraternity is basically like you join this group of people, and like you cut out, um you're putting all of your energy into the success of this group. So you have the 100 people who are actively participating, living in the house, living near the house, um paying membership dues, etc. But you also have the 100 years of people that graduated from that frat who are now in uh the world. They're in the business world, because this is main a lot of frats are basically through business. You can create this network with people existing in the jobs that you have right now. And if you pass through the screening process and there's hazing involved and all this other stuff. If you pass through the screen, then the people working in the businesses know that you've already been filtered, and then they can trust you more, so that now you're on the same team and you have been shown to have similar values of mutual assistance, so that you'll be more likely to have success in the marketplace, um, by joining the frat and passing the tests.
Yeah, I don't know. I
And let me tell
think
you, it is so successful.
yeah, I mean in the current like way that our economy and quite frankly even crossing over into just like social society, the way that it operates, um yeah, that does work. I mean it's basically, it's an arm of institutional function. It's kind of it's baked in through, even history and um yeah, it's I don't oppose the fact that it works. I just think a lot of these systems are outdated and aren't
Yeah, there was
always.
a lot. People were dating quite a bit throughout all this process too.
I'm sure I remember hearing the story that you said where like you guys were all like in a room with bunk beds and people were just fucking next to each other in the room. Which I
Yeah,
don't think that's a bad thing. I think that like I think those I don't think that like I don't think those living conditions are proper. But there's nothing wrong with like, as long as everyone's cool. I guess you can't really be cool with it if you're all in a in like a barracks type barrack. Yeah, you're basically in like a massive just compound together. I guess there is really no people got to be fucking, but
I don't know if I would agree with that exact statement, but
that's true.
let me
Yeah,
just add.
there's courtesy. There is common courtesy. You know what? I'm taking my statement back. There is common courtesy, and yeah,
Well,
I
so
haven't had
you,
to live
but
through
it's
that,
so,
so.
but they would call it butt huts. Okay, so the whole idea was they had the bunk beds, right? So 15 bunk beds in a room, and extra narrow twin beds. So it wasn't even like a twin bed. It was like, you're right, a barracks. Like, you could imagine like military bunk beds, and that's pretty much what we had. A very, very thin mattress. What I actually did is I got a twin mattress, and my bed was up against the wall. The majority of the beds were not up against the wall. Just just like the headboard was touching the wall, and then the whole bed was sticking out into the middle. But I had one against the wall. So I got a twin bed, and I put it on top of my extra narrow bed, but the bed was too big, so I kind of had to angle it on there. So my bed was slanted for that whole year.
Oh,
Um
that sucks.
so that was crazy, but let me tell you, I didn't do laundry for that whole year. Um I just had a laundry basket that I would always put my clothes in and then take them out. People finally caught on that I wasn't doing my laundry, and they gave me a hard time for that. But I was saying the butt huts, so they had um you would hang like a flag or like some sheets or curtains around your sleeping area, so people wouldn't be able to see you when you were in your bed, right?
Yeah.
So it was called a butt hut. So you would have some sort of visual privacy.
Okay, that reminds me of hostels a lot because they'll have like
Oh, the
bunk
hostels.
beds. Yeah, and they have like
Yeah.
curtains at the nice ones. Some of them don't. Some of them are like, yeah, no, but most of them give you a curtain you can pull
Oh
across.
yeah. I haven't been to any curtain ones. But anyway, so yeah, it's like a hostel for a 30, 18-year-olds, and I think at the hostels they're not peeing too much um on each other.
Oh, was that like part of the hazing? Like people would just like pee on each other in their sleep?
Well,
That's insane.
allegedly that's what got so my that frat almost got shut down um the year before I got there. So some of the screening process didn't happen for me because they were on thin ice. I think with the school and with the national fraternity. So they toned it down a lot. And so I, especially for the
Bless you.
hazing, thanks. So I wouldn't have I wouldn't have lasted in there as long as I did if the screen had been as you know, as difficult as it had been the year prior. Um,
That's just.
but but allegedly, yeah, there at the very least they were peeing into bags full of leaves and letting them sit for weeks and then pouring them all over these people's beds.
Oh,
Allegedly, that was some of the worst of it, and perhaps that's where the peeing rumor came from. But the world will never know.
that's insane. I just part of me finds that like funny where like there's like a line that you don't cross and everyone might have been like slightly pushing it and then eventually it was like piss and then the school's like stop no. I was like what.
Yeah, I don't know who found out. Maybe a kid got injured and told his parents or something. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, can you imagine getting sick? You get sick from the piss, like it's like you start to sleep in this piss-soaked bed, and you end up just like getting like sick, like pneumonia or something, and then you have to explain to like the doctor and like even like then the school later on, like what did they were pissing in bags, yeah, with leaves. They put it on the beds and they said I had to sleep in it. What?
Yeah, yeah, dude. Crazy to even just think about it.
And then that kid
Um,
gets called like the 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 piss leaf narc or the piss narc or something. They're like the piss narc.
yeah, yeah, and then they kick him out and they never talk to him again. So
Damn.
that actually happened when I saw people get kicked out. It was because they got drunk and then they did um how do I say this nicely? They did inappropriate behaviors with people in sororities.
Oh,
But you've got to imagine. So here's the culture, okay? So you have the fraternities and you have maybe 18 of them. Let me think about this. No, I'm not going to go with the size. Basically, you have these fraternities and there's probably at least 20 of them on campus, if not 30. Um and there were other ones that had different focuses than us, but all the focus from our for ours was high academic standards and um what do you say? How do you even say this favorably? Dude, it's hard to say this stuff favorably. But it was basically, just being around beautiful women. I think that was yeah, so academics, beautiful women, and being somewhat athletic. I think those were the three main focuses.
this
So
sounds like a
you
bunch of like crypto bros. Like I immediately think of like uh, it feels like a house that's like spawning like Andrew Tate's or something. Like just like
yeah,
everything was
dude,
like
there
shoot
were I mean,
shoot.
this was back
It's
in like
crazy.
2016, 2017, and there were some that was the beginning of like Bitcoin and stuff, and there were some Bitcoin dudes in there for sure. But the whole idea that I was getting to was so the culture was be around beautiful women, right? And perhaps, get their consent to touch for you to touch them, right? Right? That's the culture. So they're breeding people to have this disposition, and perhaps for people who don't have those skills as much, and the pressure to do so, they might do some inappropriate behaviors. And when you factor in, um, I guess a fourth branch of the philosophy is, go party hard, party, 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 drink vodka, take shots, shotgun beers. So when you have this pressure and the lack of skills, you might drink more so that you feel more confident and comfortable doing these behaviors that you don't have natural capacity for. So that's what happens. And then they do inappropriate behaviors. And then the fault is only placed on that individual, and they're kicked out.
Yeah. I mean, at least they didn't tolerate that behavior, but like you were saying too, it doesn't mean that group didn't like create an environment that fostered it, you know? There's a little bit of what do you call that? There's a little bit of a hypocritical nature to it where you foster the environment and then when, shit hits the fan, you go, "Oh, that's bad. We got to get rid of that guy." Which is good,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
But
mean that
yeah,
they didn't
they gotta draw
encourage.
the they gotta draw the line somewhere, I guess, without changing their own behaviors. Yeah, I mean the law, creating laws is so interesting, and they have effects that you wouldn't have predicted. But anyway, so they're doing that. They're kicking people out for that reason. Perhaps I didn't see him get kicked out for any other reason. They may have given like one warning, and then if it happened again, they kicked him out. I think that was kind of the policy. Um, but I want to get to this last piece. So they have um the high standards, right? They have these, to me, alleged academic standards, but everybody else met the standards, right? They were bought into the system. They have this automatic track to success in the future. They have, access to um beautiful women. They have this, right? They're signing up, they're bought in. I'm gonna pass all the tests. I don't care if they're hazing me. They make me drink until I vomit blood. Like, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep going. And the funniest piece of this is, since there's 100 people in this system, all the people before you, pretty much, unless it's a new teacher, have had the teacher you had before. They know what they're like, and they know which ones repeat tests. So what happens is they have a database with all the past tests information on them, quizzes, finals, midterms, all they're loaded in. So you have this high academic standard, and it's all geared towards, there's like a business school on campus that they're all trying to get into, and about 90% of them get in when they try. It's about 20% acceptance overall from the school, like it's an elite thing. So they have, for them to have success through this pipeline, remember, the older people in the society, they might have a job that's paying them like a few $100,000 a year. They got a nice house. Um, every weekend they can fly wherever they want. They got nice cars, Mercedes. Some of them even have Ferraris, dude. So they signed up for this, and a lot of their success is through getting to the business school. Business school has a minimum GPA of 3.5 to even like have a chance of getting in. So they're bought into this mutual assistance, but they freaking cheat on almost every one of their tests. They study the test files before they take the test. So it's a fake. I wasn't in these classes. It was a fake academic standard.
Yeah. I mean, some people too, they I don't know how common this was at UW, but I know at like institutions like Harvard or Princeton, or any really like Ivy League schools, a lot of very wealthy families will like purchase their way into the school too. So even if the kid wasn't necessarily performing well, like you did in high school, they could do kind of like pretty minimal in high school and still slip their way into that environment. And then again, you get into the right fraternity. That fraternity has access It's information. You can kind of, you can pass through those checks that other people would have to suffer through a little bit more.
Yeah, so in this mind frame, or in this, the way you painted it, it seems like, I don't know, number one, I don't know at who's creating these circumstances um so it's just the rules of I guess this culture that we're living in. I guess, like, there's people who are going to be more successful, and then there's going to be people who are going to be less successful in whatever terms you define successful as. And so it's just like, do you believe that?
No, I don't.
What do you believe then?
I I think it. So the way that I think our we tend to view the system that we've put together as something that is natural, like natural in nature. I don't believe that's true, and I think that is a problem that social sciences actually um, missteps sometimes. Political science, economics, sociology, um, within that department sphere, like sometimes we take a look at it and we think, oh, this is the definition of social sciences is not the study of natural properties, like the sciences. It's human made systems. That's in like the that's in the description of the whole entire study, is the study of human made systems. But we sometimes view them as like natural, just as natural as biological. Like we view it as like a natural thing, not a man-made thing, which is ironic because in the name it's a man-made system. I think that there's certain things that come from our culture and cultural environment, our social environment, and many other aspects that contribute to how the system looks. I think some of them can be flawed, and I don't think all of these things have to be permanently set in stone. I think we can look at people's experience within it. We can look at maybe inequality, and I think that those systems can change because they're man-made. They're meant to be shifted around to better apply to the human experience, and to try to give everyone the best shot at having a good experience in this layout.
Okay, so do you think you should benefit people who are more uh, capable of meeting the needs of society?
See, this is kind of like a niche. I think that's how you pronounce his name, niche or ni.
Nietzsche?
Nietzsche. Yeah. Um, it's kind of like revolves around his argument, and I think it's very common in like neoliberalism. His argument to be used for, like, even though like technically most liberals have this component and idea. You could say it's more present in conservatism, but I think it's present in liberalism too, where even though we don't acknowledge the fact, and we try and say that we're striving towards equality, I think that his philosophical point of view has actually come to fruition in many ways, where the idea is that there's a dominant group of people, and because they can dominate, they should dominate. There's this like component where these people succeed in these certain areas, and because they are succeeding in those areas, they are therefore the dominant ones, and we should not
Yeah, but
punish.
no, but that's not what I said, because I didn't say dominate. I said meet the needs of society.
But I think that runs a close tangent of like there's now a reason why a certain group of people can make it to that position, but I also
So
at the
it
same
was just a
time,
yes or a no. It was just yes or no, though, kind of a question. It was, do you believe that people should be rewarded for the amount of impact they have on society?
I don't know if I would agree that the people who are said to have the largest impacts on society actually do have the largest impacts on society. I don't think that's
Well,
um, completely
well,
untrue, but
if you could track that, would you? It's this is idealism. This is not. This isn't to me. My question is not practically based. It's philosophical.
if we lived in an ideal society where that quotient was that quotation was being met, where the most successful people in a certain area or a certain a certain part of society, having them be the most successful basically based off of that, because like the parameter I guess is what I'm struggling to quantify. Like if it was met like in the perfect world where every single parameter that could possibly embody what's good for a society would be met within the conditions of their success.
Yeah, yeah. If you're meeting the needs of society through the uh, lens of the society's wants and needs, if that were at the forefront of what allocated compensation, then do you believe that? I mean, how else is there gonna have you have personal autonomy and differing levels of being able to contribute? Like, what do you do about that?
See, I think that if those parameters were being met and it was truly the best for society as a whole, as the collective, right? Of course, I think like somebody who's good at medicine, at practicing medicine, has a passion for it, and is really good in that specific area. Of course, I think that that person should be rewarded for what they provide to society. Um, I think most people would agree that no one should be punished for succeeding in a way that's beneficial to society. But where I have a problem is if someone, and I think this happens a lot in just the way that things are kind of designed, um, the negative, uh, the negative reactions that come from somebody doing something that maybe isn't for the best of like society as a whole, right? But they're rewarded for that behavior because the idea isn't like there's not an idea of what's good for everyone. There's more so an idea of, okay, how much have you made in terms of economic value. And there's problems even with, you know, we measure things in terms of GDP per capita. You can't actually measure someone's well-being through those numbers because you take the value of everyone, of all the incomes and all the production, and you combine it together and you divide it by the population. That wealth is not evenly distributed amongst the population. And I mean, economists admit this themselves, but there's never been like a replacement of GDP per capita that still consistently gets used to measure well-being. I think that our evaluation of what's good for society as a whole is oftentimes misplaced, and because we don't have a good measurement tool to conduct what that means for everyone, it's difficult to determine whether someone is doing a good thing or not. However, there's some things that are more straightforward. I mean, someone volunteers their time. Of course, there's net benefits that can't even be measured. Someone who's a doctor is obviously doing good work. They're performing surgeries. They're promoting, you know, the public health. But it's hard to measure, and I don't think every single instance of personal success is necessarily a net gain to society.
Yeah, I agree. So then how would like because the metrics, if they were decided upon by the population of people, like then then that would be great. That would be great to be able to have the monetary success being linked to like a truly democratic system. Um, and I think that might be even possible with, uh, the advent of technology and like perhaps having a way to securely vote. If there was like secure voting stations, um, and it was just normal that like once a month you would go and vote, and like there'd be a national poll or something, and then that could affect how money was allocated in some way, um, and that would relate to what sort of institutions would get funding, but also in which jobs basically would pay the most. um, that'd be cool. I mean, so that'd be better in my view than having like this. I don't know what parts of China have this social credit system, but like that's an authoritarian version of what we're talking about, and something that we want to avoid is they've selected what's beneficial to society, and they've given your financial security, they've tethered it to that, so that if you don't follow the rules instead of like you don't. Yeah, just trying to avoid that is basically like the main thing.
Yeah, I think there's a point where you can go like you can go too far in either direction of trying to overly define what you want to see happen and then enforcing it in a way that um maybe leaves some people out of the fold, but at the same time you can go in a direction where um you can enforce it through like a passive economic means. And I think like it's two different forms of the same coin, where over here we have this ideological perspective and we enforce it through our economy. And we, if it's sink or swim, basically there will be punishments if you do not conform to how we want you to behave. China has taken that, and rather than enforce it in an economic way, they have enforced it through um, an authoritarian measure, and they've put these parameters in place, and they've decided what you what is acceptable. And I think it's two different parameters of the same coin, but both can have negative consequences.
Yeah, but what about this voting system, dude? What if you had just had like a your own secure device? It doesn't happen on your phone, it's a very secure, and maybe it has like its own satellite that it connects to. It's not even connected to the internet, right? Because they're starting to have 5G satellites. So what if there was a satellite that connected to your secure device, and then you were able there was able to be like national voting on, like maybe it wouldn't be like 100%, but like depending on the national vote, like certain jobs would start to pay higher wages, like they would get some percentage extra, and we could really vote to like invest in our schools, um and maybe invest in our like education system as a whole. Like I think that's where I would want that money. But like what do you think about just an idea of like a secure way of polling the population of the United States?
I'm interested. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting premise. It has like the remnants of like there's that's like a form of direct democracy. Um, and actually, so I it's interesting because I had a class that talked a little bit about um direct democracy versus like the idea of a republic versus the idea of um like philosopher kings is kind of what I think it was Plato who came up with the idea of the philosopher kings. Um, and I don't know. I see sometimes the dangers behind what direct democracy um could present, but I also have a tendency to feel that I I truly believe that the public is a rational entity. I do. I think that people I think that sometimes people are misled. Maybe they're influenced by um maybe like forces around them that would like to convince them um that their interests lie in a certain area when maybe they actually don't. And maybe that would be my fear, is that people I think people can get led astray. They can be convinced of things by actors that may not have your best interests at heart. But at the same time, I think that in a world where um information didn't flow the same way that it did today, and if people were able to be informed and be able to make logical decisions based off of all the knowledge that's available to them, if they had a schooling system that taught them what their interests were, and where their interests lie, and what might be beneficial to someone and their community, perhaps I think a direct democracy could work
But
if
that's
that
not
was
what I'm
possible.
saying. So, but okay, so it doesn't have to be entirely a direct democracy. I'm just saying on specific issues regarding to finances, if there would be a direct democracy specifically on finances, not on like the entire governmental structure.
I Yeah, I think it could work. It comes down to how influenced people are by, I mean, other actors. I think that's where, like, even our democracy today can become kind of it's interesting whether you can sometimes classify it as a democracy, because you have the parties, and that's another aspect of it, of someone who's deciding things on your behalf and are supposed to represent your interests. But then you have um different strategies that have been developed by political think tanks and massive campaign networks that understand that they can kind of they can convince the public of something if they need to, or a certain demographic of the population. They know exactly what their frustrations are, what their angers are, and they kind of can triangulate that and convince a population that something is good for them when it might not necessarily be the best option for a certain community, an individual, the country as a whole. So that's where I start to wonder if somehow people could be fully educated on, you know, what um what options are really on the table, and what those options would truly mean for them, with the best predictions as to what might happen if you did picked option A, B, or C. I think that would be I think that could be good. But as things stand right now and how information flows, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
isn't this influence already happening? And can't they already influence votes like through like this way it is right now?
Yeah. That definitely. I mean, that's a whole like industry too. The like all of politics is basically trying to not only sway the politician but also sway the public um to vote a certain way.
Yeah. I think that maybe then like you got to talk about like what's being taught in the schools and how maybe this topic might be taught to people. How this topic might be, how might the education system be geared towards having conversations about how the world works and how this country works?
Yeah. I I think there's definitely a lot of problems with how we operate. I think see I'm trying to not like because I definitely have a very like uh biased political perspective. Um, so like when I try to describe these problems, I guess I'm trying to not come across as too as leaning too politically. I mean, I'm sure like it's probably no secret if like anyone, and no one watches this show anyways. Like I don't even know who I'm talking to. I'm just talking to you basically. So you know what? It doesn't matter. I have like very left
Well,
leaning
dude, you're
political
talking to
views,
this. Trust
and
me, you're talking to the CIA too, so I understand.
yeah. Actually, you know, to be fair, you know, you always gotta you gotta be careful. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I hold very left wing political views. So a lot of the things that I myself might think are like the problems within society, which like might revolve around material conditions and profit motives. Um, that for me, I think is a huge influence that has negative consequences. However, in a more like non-politically focused light, I think that you could just say, I guess, to cut out the political part, that there's a motivation for some parties to ensure that someone might not vote in their best interest because it's not in that particular group's best interest. Even that's still political though.
yeah,
It doesn't get rid of the message, but maybe that's something that is more easily agreeable across a wider portion of the population, rather than me saying that like the capitalists are coming for you. There's something I don't know, but
yeah. Well, okay, but here's where I'm at. So in all the ways, like these people who made this country, dude. So let me just walk you through this. I think this part's crazy, right? So they had England, right? And then these guys were like, they came and explore over here, right? And then they're like, oh, this is dope. Like, we don't want to deal with these motherfuckers over there anymore. So they decided, they signed this piece of paper and they're like, we're now different than that place. And then they made these all these rules. And what was that? Almost 300 years ago, something like that, 250 years ago. So they made that. They made the rules, and now we're just talking about them. But they made them. So what the fuck were those guys doing? And it's I don't even know, but I mean, the based on those rules, those people, um, one, they're still a lot. People are still alive. There was people trying to take over the world, and they were able to defend against them. Um, so yeah, what is the success? How do you measure success of a political system, and how do you respect what this political system has meant thus far, like and the positive benefits that it has had?
yeah, that's it's difficult because it's not like a clear, it's not a very clear measurement. I wouldn't say that being able to you know, dominate the world with, you know, one country being able to dominate the world with like their culture and military, and kind of, you know, have the most sway over, you know, the whole global system. I don't know if I would say that that equals someone, a country has necessarily been successful. That might to somebody else, because again, this is probably something that varies depending on what someone's own perspective is on success.
Yeah,
Um,
but the thing is,
but
there is defending the country, which is part of the political necessity that has to be a focus, right?
yeah, I think to a point, I don't think anyone would ever argue that the U.S. getting involved in World War II was bad. That's a positive thing that occurred. You know, that's obviously stopping something bad that's occurring, and it's never bad to assist other, because there's some even like I think bond that goes beyond just like a nationality, where everyone living on this globe are all human beings. I think at a certain point we can step beyond that of the national borders and say, I care about another population of people because they're human beings. You know, they're just like me. It's the same makeup. We both have the same like. Maybe we're not like no one's ever gonna think the same. People experience emotions differently, but we have the same emotional makeup. I can tell when someone else is suffering, when someone else is in trouble, um, when there's like problems. But then there's interfering for bad reasons sometimes, and sometimes there's just a pure motive of personal gain behind assistance. And I think that can look a very specific way when you get involved with other parts of the world. When you're not only like, you're not providing assistance and working with the people who live there, but rather you're overriding them and saying, we are simply going to do this, or working without their consent. Then there becomes, there's a different motivational structure there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's a different motivational structure, and all I'm asking is, what? So, are you familiar with the idea of the collective unconscious? It's a Jungian idea.
I don't think. No, actually, yeah, I don't think so. No.
It's kind of like all the common experiences we share as like humanity that's in the like kind of just beyond like our consciousness. Like, uh, it's kind of like all the sort of attitudes that we share within all of humanity. Um, and one of those attitudes, I guess, is, fear for our personal safety. And so when we're talking about a political system and the individuals, like when people have fear for their individual safety, then they take different precautions in their attitudes towards life. And so I'm just wondering, like, based on our current attitudes and the amount of safety that exists for us in our belief, um, how that can affect, how can that be taken into account when considering how we want to structure humanity.
Yeah, it's difficult because there are like there's definitely like a circulation of emotions in everyday life, and even like it crosses over into like politics, international relations. Someone can experience fear that can drive that person to direct that fear towards a country, a group of people, um, to kind of justify it, or to rationalize it. Um, there's that even is like a study too in politics of like how emotions, like resentment is a huge component of political activism sometimes. And there's it's not that emotions are bad. I think emotions can be positive. They can drive people to try and advocate for themselves, or try to wrong a wrongdoing, to try and alleviate pain. But sometimes it can turn into misdirected blame, or you can make a group a scapegoat or a country a scapegoat. Or there's a scenario where your fear drives you to do something horrendous, or perhaps your fear drives you to place blame for that fear on a certain group. And I think that's where it depends on how it ends up getting used, I guess. I think it can be misdirected, and I think it can be sometimes more targeted towards the core issue. But what that is heavily debated, and sometimes we view things rather, we don't view it systemically. We view it on a physical basis, where it must be a group or one guy who's sitting behind the scenes doing it, rather than looking at the systemic and fully the system of operations that might be causing that fear or pain.
Yeah, so how to properly understand what your fears are and what your own needs are so that you can attempt to alleviate them in ways that will actually work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and focused on, that introspection and the um yeah, just getting it so people can feel safe in the world. And so being able to teach that language of I think it's really critical thinking matched with a uh a language that allows you to get in touch with your feelings and what it means to like uh be a human, be alive in a body, and like just becoming more aware of like what you are, um learning about your body and like how it functions, and like learning about that and your emotions so that you can have through this um language that you learn, like have a dialogue about what you're feeling and what you want, and then to be able to understand what's happening in the world enough to um do what you need to do to get what you want out of life.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of I think misdirected sometimes emotions out there. Um, Sometimes people will seek to take advantage of people's emotions. Sometimes there's groups who they do studies invested in like how best to reach a certain audience and evoke a certain emotional response from them. So it's so difficult because there's so many things like around you that are influencing those emotions, and so you almost have to kind of yeah, try to recognize those things. It's difficult sometimes. I think everyone can fall prey to it on a certain level.
Yeah, and I guess where my head is at is like what are we teaching the people who are getting born? So basically this is, I don't know if you know this, but basically when a zygote I think two gametes meet and create a zygote, right? So you have uh two people with 46 chromosomes each, right? And some have this certain chromosome and some different. But when those two genetics are joined together, it starts to form uh, a cell that continues to replicate for 10 months, and then there you get a fetus that grows into a baby that ends up joining into the world, right? You knew that?
No, not so. I knew the basic premise. I've never heard of the what's the something goat, the as
The zygote.
the zygote. I've never heard of the zygote. Enzymes though, and the chromosomes, like all like like my what I knew and what I didn't know kind of went like this. Like it was a
Okay.
chart. Like oh, I know that. I don't know that. I know that. I don't know that. It was kind of like it's kind of like
Okay.
that.
So yeah, there's more details than you knew, but you knew the general concept that, the cell was created, it replicates, and then we get human life, right? So when that human life is born, then it's joining into this world, and it has like this super brain that like is taking in the information that's been given to it, and then it's going to use that information to like create an idea of what their embodiment is in the on the earth, right? Based on that information. So then the question is, what information are you giving to babies? And that's mainly the uh this is kind of this is just an idea I got. So basically, what if you educate mothers to be introducing information that's going to be like useful to be having this understanding about self and how to have understanding about like how society functions. Because this period before they join school, they're with their moms, right, or with caretakers, but the majority are moms. So what if that was, what if we learned what to teach babies to be able to have them uh to be able to have this understanding and dialogue about themselves and society.
Yeah, it's interesting because like don't people I've heard some people do this. I don't know how much it works or not, but some people will try to play like Mozart. And you're probably meaning after they come out of the womb, but like some people will try to
Yeah,
play
yeah, yeah.
Mozart to the baby inside of the stomach, and some people for some reason think that like it increases IQ. I don't know. I don't know how far these studies have gone. So again, no one watches this show, so probably I'm not misinforming anybody. But I don't know. Like maybe it does, but like yeah, like there's like they're aware of it. I guess is the idea. So yeah,
Oh, they're already aware that you can do stuff to infants to make them have improve their lives.
yeah, I don't know if Mozart does improve their lives in the stomach. But I've heard
Yeah,
some people think it's good. They say it's
yeah,
good, and
yeah.
they play different things to them and like while they're still in the stomach. But once they're out too, like yeah, I mean I can only imagine you could they may not be able to communicate, but I remember at like the school I was working at, they had like it wasn't an infant department, but it was like some of them couldn't talk in there. Like they just started walking in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Um and all the different like the toys that they had weren't they were I you know, I don't really want to call them toys cuz I think they were like they were some of them were like very purposely meant for like associations to like teach them things, teach them like what a tree looks like, teach them what different things are like. There even was like to so the, I think the teacher she was really intelligent. She was super smart. She'd bring in different symbols to try and get like she tried to get them used to like different races because like that was like a huge thing trying to like just make sure that they weren't in a isolated environment. And they were already like it was a pretty diverse crowd. Um I think um not like there wasn't like every single race within this group. I think it was mostly like white, Asian. I think that might have been it. There might have been an Indian kid in there, but anyways, the idea was that you show pictures of like people from all over the world to try and get people over that weird isolationism that they kind of get stuck in. And she brought in different religious symbols to try to make sure that they weren't going to ever feel like any of them were necessarily alienating. So she'd have them all in like the same basket, and they could like go through and look at them. And yeah, I don't know. There's something about that. There's something about association, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so but that's important, dude. That's maybe something to invest in is to learn how to infants, how to cuz maybe like yeah, just that's really important for the success of the humans, to have humans who know about themselves and what they need and know how to talk about it and communicate that idea. Um, yeah,
I'm
and the
on board.
earlier, yeah. So then, what do you do? How do you learn that? You just go, you just go to school to learn about infants, or do you learn about society, or?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's a lot of like sociology has a bit of that, like studying human behavior. There's psychology that also, could cross over into that. Um Teaching, I don't know. That's there's I think there's a lot of different subjects that it could apply to, you know?
Yeah, I think politics has to be one of it. I mean, so you gotta understand once you know how to teach that, how to get it to into the schools or into the moms, you know?
Yeah. There's a ton of different like crossovers. I was fascinated, like even while studying political science, like philosophy comes up a lot. Of course, economics is brought up a lot. They bring up did I say sociology already? Economics, sociology, yeah, psychology. Um they bring up like a ton of different topics. Even like you can get one like focused in like medical sciences and like medical science laws and stuff. It's insane how much crossover there are between all the different studies. I'm sure it's the same if someone studies medicine or biology. I'm sure there's like a ton of different classes that people can take, and they all, at some level cross over to one another.
Yeah, but that's not a good answer because we're looking for how do we do it, you know?
That Yeah, that is a good question. I don't even know. I don't even know. It's like you'd have to incentivize, because not everyone is gonna necessarily be capable of doing that, or they might not want to, or they might not believe in in the message. So um it's hard to bring that into people's like homes, because again, it's
Yeah,
one of
but
those things.
that's not a good answer because the question isn't why can't we do it? It was, how do we do it?
Yeah, I think that's a question that I don't know. I don't think I can answer that one. That's a hard one, cuz I can't think of a way that you could possibly incentivize people to try something like that, only because
Try something
it's,
like what?
well, like you're saying, like trying to, you can do like public announcements. Like, I suppose there was a way that eventually mothers started like, there's been like a bunch of talk about like breastfeeding versus store-bought milk, and
Hmm.
so a lot of women were starting to breastfeed again, because the store-bought milk like wasn't as nutritious or something. So I guess there's certain things where like you can kind of, through public safety announcements, you can only hope that maybe some people um would try such a thing. But um
But I still don't know what a thing is because kind of what I thought doing it was how do you learn? Because like we're not going to assume that we know how to do the stuff that we would need to do, right? If we were to like provide this opportunity for like these humans being born. So what I'm saying is how do we get to know the stuff that we need to know, not how do we get people to do what we want? Does that make any sense?
yeah, I would say that I mean, that's outside of my field of expertise, like behavior behavioral sciences. I don't know exactly would um what would make the best like structured learning environment at that stage of development. Um
No,
but
but it's not about that. It's not about the stage of the development. It's about how would you and I learn the stuff we would need to know in order to make an informed decision about
um
what's important.
I'm sure there's like I'm sure there's like what is it? I guess like child psychology is one like avenue. There's a lot of different avenues though, where like information kind of lies. Like child psychology is one. I'm sure they talk about child development to a certain extent in like yeah any behavioral science.
So studying childhood psychology seems to be really important.
I would say so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna look into that.
All right. I'll try to as well. I've been swamped this quarter. It's been crazy. I
But
the
dude, you're doing
economics.
part of it. You're doing part of it though, because I'm not gonna study economics. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. I hate it too. I really. I mean, okay. Actually, to be fair, I did find game theory is a little bit interesting. It's
Oh, is it?
what's that?
I said, oh, is it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, okay. There's certain components. I move back and forth all the time. This has been the most erratic quarter for me because I can't decide what subjects I like. The political science course I'm in. That's really interesting. But that's my major, so it kind of like
Is that your capstone?
my capstone.
Aren't you doing a capstone class where you have to sit in a room for 3 hours?
Yeah, that is the one thing that makes it hellish is the hours.
But that's that class, right?
Yeah, that class.
Nice.
Yeah, but I've four. I think it's just because I haven't taken 4 classes. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there in the world would be like 4 classes. I take 5 classes every quarter. And I'd be like, all right, bro. But
Yeah. Yeah, they do, dude.
I've heard of some who
They
really
do.
do pack in their
And you don't.
schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't do that.
Yeah, it's not the. I like just the exact amount that's recommended. That's nice for me. I'm sure
What
there's like the Sigma grind set guy who's like, bro, what do you mean, dude? You gotta take 6, bro. You gotta double the amount. I take the average, I double it. And I know that somebody's gonna be out there saying that, but then again, like you gotta have like
there's a
time for like exercise and like other things, you can't be just cramming. You gotta have time for personal health, hygiene.
yeah, but like yeah, but you gotta imagine people have different skills, right? They might be good at passing tests, but they might not be good at other things that you're good at. And they just it's not like they are just crazy. They just have a different brain than you.
Someone who takes 6 classes. I mean, like 5 classes, all right. You're getting extreme, but 6 classes, that person I think is out of their mind. I think that person is
Wait,
on.
on quarters, you're supposed to take 3 classes,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
But that's why 6 would be so insane to me. Like 4 is a little bit of a
Yeah.
surprise for me where I'm like, man, this is a lot more hours that I'm putting in than I expected.
Yeah, but just imagine like, dude, I can argue with you all day about whatever you say. I'll just argue with you. So, dude, they imagine if like I'm trying to pick somebody you don't like that you're neutral on. I don't know any person you're neutral on, honestly. But I'm thinking about just Mark Zuckerberg. Just imagine him.
Oh, but
He
that
could
guy
take.
sucks though. That guy really
I know,
sucks.
but he
That
could take
guy's.
six. He could take 6 classes, no problem.
I don't know. I don't know. What if
Dude, he
he?
just shows up. He just shows up. Trust
Okay,
me.
this is my argument. This is what I think he's like. Hey guys, like this is how he walks into class.
I know, I know, but you know he's different. That's all I'm saying.
Hey guys,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I love class. Class time fun. It's like Mark, what are you doing here? You're like 5 hours early.
Yeah, dude. Mark.
I don't have time for this. I'm teaching my other class right now. You're not even in this program. This is crazy.
But you think that's a so child psychology is pretty. So that's in that one end where you're just it's all about the success of humanity, right? Well, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
You might just hear cars too. Success of humanity. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. You know, if you're in the yeah, it's about how you get the kids going, no doubt.
How do you get the kids going?
The youth, dude.
I think I think I'm gonna call it here. I've got an
Okay,
essay that I do gotta get going on too. But it feels like a bad place to end the conversation though, because we haven't. I mean, we kind of came to a conclusion,
dude. If you need to
but
go, that's fine.
yeah, well, I don't need to I don't need to like go like right now. Like I still got time to finish up my essay. Um, but
Okay,
I was
it's up to
just
you.
I was just signaling that like I'll have to go in a bit. Not
Okay.
that like the weird thing is that there's no like way. The thing that I think is strange is there's no way to like wrap up like no, because people wrap up podcasts all the time. I guess it doesn't. It never feels like there's like a good place, a perfect place to end a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, especially on this topic, it's sort of like how do you how do you do like the most important thing in life? So I get it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, you don't you can we can end it here. That's fine.
Well, wait, no, but I'm actually I'm gonna try to leave. I'm gonna try to work out a better ending here. Let's see. Okay, everyone out there watching. There's no one watching, but it's fine. Everyone out there watching. You know, it's important that we all think about this topic. Think about what we're teaching kids. Think about childhood development. Think about self-awareness. How self-aware are people while they're growing up? How aware are we of each other and who we are as human beings? And this is something that everyone should be thinking about and looking into so we can, make a better world for people who are growing up and people who, later become adults, and start, having to join and mix in with society. Like how are we doing this? Everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that um we have to recognize that we don't have all the answers right now and that that's okay. And um as long as we can identify something to keep us moving forward and it's going to have a high likelihood have the highest likelihood of bringing into the world the life and experiences that we want to have, then we're gonna be okay. It's gonna be good, and we're gonna be able to still use our rationality, um, and just make sure that we're using it for the kind of conversations and investing in the life experiences that we want to have.
That's way better said. That's much better said.
Ah, I think I liked yours too.
Mine was a little bit too over dramatic. It was a little bit too. It was a little bit too. What do you call that? Like for the cameras. I suppose.
A little more performative.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more performative, but still, like I still mean it. It's not like I don't mean it. Like I do really think that we should be thinking about things like that because it's important.
Yeah, well, I mean, good luck on this paper, dude.
Thank you, thank you. I'm almost done too. I think I've got like 2 pages left, and then I can turn it in.
Nice.
All right. Well, everyone, I there's nobody still. There's yeah 0 views, but if anyone ever sees this, thanks for watching. I hope you made it all the way through. If nobody ever sees this, then hey, the CIA can enjoy this one. This is one special for
Yeah,
you boys. Special for
dude. I'll tell
you.
you this just before we end. The CIA. So once I mentioned them, then the screen kind of glitched out a little bit. Um,
Dang. You're
yeah,
you're individual the one individual CIA and I think the meme is the FBI agent. But yeah, both of them. But the ones that have been assigned to you got a little bit angry. They started glitching out your
well,
screen.
I'm pretty sure there is just a robot listening until you say some of the keywords, and then maybe a human tunes in.
What if CIA was one of the triggering words for the FBI?
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it is one of the trigger words.
We've just been blowing up their notifications just now. It's been bling bling bling
Bling bling bling bling.
bling bling bling.
All right, adios to the cashews.
Yes, cashews. That's right. We didn't really get to what the title of the episode was, but it doesn't matter. The tuxedos are good, and cashews are actually just cash filled with shoes.
Adios.